Hello, beautiful people. I'm Quinn, and I want to welcome you back to my channel for this sharing session of question and answers. So recently I did a giveaway post on my Instagram, and in that post I asked you guys to ask me some questions and that I would answer them here on YouTube. So I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to let you know who won that giveaway. And because you're all amazing winners to me, I am also going to be telling you how to get a free printable that I put together for you guys, so for you to enjoy. So I got like 500 and some odd questions. So I was wanting to answer them all, but there's just like no way I can answer them all on here in this video because you're gonna fall asleep halfway through. So what I decided to do is and I wanted the answers to be as natural as possible. I didn't want them to be rehearsed. So what I've done is I've got my phone right here with my Instagram open, and I'm just going to read some questions and answer them. And I don't know how many I'll get through, but some kind of reasonable amount of time. But I do want to answer as many of your questions as I can. So let's get started. Okay, here we go. First question. What can I do to make beautiful things like you do? That's really cute. So I appreciate that you think that they're beautiful, but I believe that everyone has the ability to be creative. That it is not some special thing that people are born with. That creativity and making beautiful things is actually a practice, just like everything else. Just like yoga is a practice, or having good handwriting is a practice. Everything in our lives is a practice. And for me, being creative is, and making things is a practice in shutting down the thinking mind. So for me, and for everybody, we all have this voice in our head, and it just goes and goes and goes, and it doesn't stop. And we tend to get stuck in that voice and thinking it's us and it's our identity. And you can't become creative and make things and create things from that space. So what you have to do is you have to learn to open to what I like to call just this flow state that doesn't include your thinking mind. It's obviously still there, but you're not listening to everything it says, and then you open to this greater flow of creativity. And that truly is a practice. So when I'm journaling, I will often just begin, and when you start hearing this voice that's like, oh, what if this doesn't look good? What if it turns out wrong? What if I don't like it? What if I mess this up? And that's when you just don't listen, and you keep moving and you keep going. And the first few times you do it, when you're done, you might be like, this doesn't look that great. But I promise you, if you just keep going and keep practicing, you will learn to get into that flow state, and you will learn to just let that creativity come out of you. And when you do, there's no better feeling in the world. Okay, question 2. Does your hobby relax you, or do you sometimes feel pressure to post something for your followers? My hobby of journaling absolutely relaxes me. It's what I like to do at the end of the day. So most people might be like reading or watching television or doing other stuff, just zoning out on their phone. My thing is that I love to just journal and create, and it absolutely relaxes me. Do I feel pressure to post to Instagram sometimes? Yeah, I get that voice in my head that's like, you have to do this, you have to do this. The key is, though, that I don't listen to that voice. That I always try to move from a place of authenticity. Does it feel good to me? Do I love it? I try not to let my post be based on whether someone will like it or not. I try to just let me come through and move from a place of love. And, to me, I can't go wrong if that's the place I'm coming from. And whether people like it or not, it is what it is. But I feel blessed that there are so many people who enjoy it. But yeah, I feel the pressure to post, but I don't allow that pressure to dictate what I do. I hope that makes sense. Okay. My question is, how did you begin your entire spiritual journey? Was it a specific event or a moment, a book that taught caught your eye, etc. So my spiritual journey, wow, that's a long story, but I'll try to break it down. When I was a kid, I didn't grow up in a house that was spiritual or religious at all. I had never been to church. I didn't know who Jesus was. We didn't talk about spirituality, none of that. But what's interesting is from my earliest memories, I remember feeling that there was something bigger than me, that there was this connection that I had, and often feeling, I don't know how to describe it, just that I just knew that there was something more. And so spirituality from so small has always like been in me. It's always been my love. And so I never knew what to call it. I knew that I had these certain things that I believed, and I always had this belief in like unlimited potential and power, which I feel really blessed to have had. You know, I've always believed that no matter what, there's a way, that unlimited possibilities exist. And as I became a teenager, I would say probably about 11 or 12, I was at the library, total book nerd, and I found this book on paganism, and I remember reading it, and I was like, wow, this stuff resonates with me. It was like, it was telling me stuff that I already thought. So that kind of started me there. And so anything that was earth-based, I really, because it just seemed so natural to me. It just was what was. And from there, I went on to making my own rune stones. And when I was in high school, I used to walk around with a backpack and this little Converse shoebox. And I used to sell like spell candles for love and health, along with other things like hemp necklaces. And I began making my own runes, and I got my first tarot deck. And so that's where it all really began for me, was when I was really young. I was probably 12 when I created my first altar, this just like a sacred space. And I don't know half of what I know now, and it has completely evolved over the years, but I think that it was just always something that interested me. Always. Good question. Let's see here. What's your favorite holiday and why? Favorite holiday? Valentine's Day? I think some people say it's not a holiday. And I think some people either love it or hate it, but I just love Valentine's Day. I don't know why. I love hearts in general, and I love that it's like this special day for you and your honey, and I love all the little special things my honey does for me on that day. Yeah, I don't know, I just really love it. But I also really like Halloween, because Halloween's really fun. I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan. I can tell you my least liked holiday is definitely like Easter. It's like whatever to me. And Christmas and Thanksgiving are okay, but I guess I prefer the ones that are like, maybe because I associate like Thanksgiving and Christmas somewhat with, you know, kind of stressful time of year. But like Halloween is just fun, and Valentine's Day is just like super cute. So I like the 4th of July, I like that too, because they're like the fun holidays, like where you're just chill. It's not as much pressure. So yeah, that's what I say to that. What I would like to ask, what does your journal style say about you? Oh, that's an interesting question. I never really thought about that. I don't know what it says about me. I guess what I hope it says about me is that I'm a human who's focused on growth, and that my style, I would say my style is like modern bohemian, kind of. I don't really know. That's a great question, but I don't really know how to answer that. Okay. Would love to know when you might expand the cover range to include happy planner covers. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I really hadn't thought about that. So right now I only do the A5 journal covers. And that's because I really didn't start my store that long ago. And of course, adding new stuff takes capital. I mean, I can't just buy 10 of something. You know, when I create something and then I work with a manufacturer to have it created, Usually you have to buy a large supply, and that takes a large amount of money. And so all the money I make now completely goes back into actually expanding my store and my shop and creating more goods for people. But the cover thing is hard because that's like a really big investment. So I don't know when I'll do Happy Planner covers, only because I don't really use a Happy Planner that much. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I have used them. But I think next I'd like to expand the color range of the A5 ones. I'd like to add some black and a few other colors, and then maybe do some different sizes. I'm also working on doing a really cool style like ring binder one, because I really do like ring binders too. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the works with that. The Happy Planner one, sorry, I just don't know if I will do that. I'm not saying I never will, but I'm not sure. Let's see here. How many kiddos do you have? Furry ones count too. I have 2 kids. I have a boy and a girl. My girl's name is Sage, and my son's name is Eros. And I have 2 Poochie Poos. One is a yellow lab named Luna, and one is a golden retriever named Maple. And we love them all. Let's see here. What's a stationary item you can't live without? That's easy. My double-sided tape runner. I can't live without that. No, that's the one thing I can't live without. I have to stick stuff down. I don't know what it is about just needing to roll that thing across something and stick it in my journal, but that's my favorite thing. I literally keep 20 of them on hand. I'm not kidding. It's obsessive compulsive. I'm sorry. It's just, I have to have them. I'm terrified that I might run out, that I'm in the middle of a journal and run out. I can't. And I don't like to use glue. Sometimes I have to if it's really fine paper or something. But I don't really like to use glue. I really like to use the tape runner because it's really easy and I don't get it everywhere and you can't see it. So, excuse me. So that's what I like to use. Why did you start practicing yoga and meditation? So, my practicing of yoga and meditation throughout the years, I dabbled in here and there, but it never became a full practice for me until I started my Magic Morning practice, which was about 3 years ago. I just dabbled in it here or there, but I always wanted it to be part of my daily life. I just didn't know how to integrate it because I wanted to do all these things in a day, and I could just never figure out how to do it until the Magic Morning thing happened, and then I figured out how to do everything. So about 3 years, and the reason why I started was it has changed my life more than anything that I can imagine, especially the meditation part. It has changed my life in so many incredible ways. I suffered from PTSD, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, dissociative disorders. I had so many things and so many fears and phobias, and I felt like I was a person who was caged inside of myself, screaming to get out. And meditation really helped me to see that this voice that we all have wasn't me. It wasn't the essence of me. That there was something more, and that I was able to relax and surrender and reconnect to the true spirit of who I am. So that's why I started doing that, was just to find peace, to be peace. So yeah, that's a good question. Let's see here. Next. What is the greatest challenge you've overcome in your life so far, and how did it change you? So I was just saying how I suffered from PTSD and stuff, and by far that was my greatest challenge. Was I did suffer from all those things, and back when it started for me over 10 years ago, probably closer to 15 years now, anxiety wasn't talked about. I didn't know a single person who had ever had a panic attack. Now I know hundreds of people who have, but at that time it wasn't common. No one spoke about it. There wasn't a lot of books or literature about it. And they just wanted to medicate you, and medication actually made me anxious, so I wouldn't take it. But I knew I couldn't accept that anxiety was just supposed to be a part of me. You know, like, to me, people will say, well, I'm just, you know, I have anxiety. It's just me. It's not you. It's something you experience. And if it's just something you experience, how can I change that experience? And so that was the hardest thing for me to overcome. It took me a good 10 years of doing a lot of reading, a lot of research, of just a lot of working on so many things to move past that. And I can tell you that today, I still have a couple of phobias and stuff. And once in a while I have anxiety, but it doesn't affect me. I can actually sit back from learning to meditate and actually watch the anxiety, so it doesn't affect me. But it has changed my life for everything. I mean, there was a point where I didn't even want to leave my house, where I almost became a shut-in. I wouldn't park in parking garages. Like, it held me prisoner. So now that I've overcome that, my life is like so much more big and wide and free. So yeah, that wasn't easy to know. I mean, that was a huge obstacle for me. If you could narrow it down to one journal, which one would you keep and why? Oh, so that's easy for me too. The one journal I would keep always is my Magic Morning Journal. And the reason why is because that's the journal, that's me, that's my spirit in there. That's my growth of who I am as a human. I love the other ones, of course. I love my memory keeping, and planning is essential, but that is the one that is like my journey to coming home to me. So I love that one. I love that one the most. And it's not just that, it's also the one where I have the most creative flow in. So some of my journals I might pre-plan, but that one I don't. It's where I allow myself and do that flow practice like I talked about in the beginning. That's the one where I have this practice of just allowing and creating. I don't pre-plan those spreads. It is completely whatever comes out of me is on that paper. And so I love that too, that I get to experience that flow that I love so much. Okay, where do you find time to work, run a business, and fit things in like Magic Morning rituals? So this is going to sound funny, but what if I told you that all you actually have is time? That's all we have in this world is time. And it just depends on what you want to do with it. You know, and we all can say, oh, I have to do this or I have to do that. But still, you are you and you get to choose. So for me, it became a priority like nothing else. I mean, we make so many things a priority in life, like going to work and all this stuff. But when you die, you're not going to be like, I went to work every day. So I want to live an incredible life to the fullest. My most authentic, pure spirit self of me. And so my priority to know that that can happen starts with me. So making my Magic Morning a priority for me and getting up earlier, that's how I do that. It's just, it has to be a priority. You just have to find a way to make that space for yourself, even if it's 10 minutes. Because it all begins with you. Your life, your choices begin with you. So yeah, it's definitely hard to juggle, especially because before I was working as an independent stylist and doing this business, and of course I have a home. So I was pretty much working every day, all day, which definitely became really stressful at times. But I've since my hand surgery, and before that, since my hand was injured, I haven't been able to work as a stylist. So I've been doing this full time, which has been kind of nice to have that little bit of break. But I would say when you're trying to figure out how to fit everything into your life, it's all about prioritizing. I mean, and making it a true priority. What's a must for you? Deciding what's a must, and looking at what isn't. You know, and I promise you, if you really look at where you spend your time in a day, you're spending it on a lot of stuff that isn't a must. So I hope that makes sense. Let's see here. What is your biggest inspiration for your spreads? So inspiration for me comes from a ton of different places. So when I start a spread, it could be anything that inspires me. I could see a picture that I really want to use, and it'll inspire the whole spread. Sometimes I'll look at, like, I love magazine layouts, so sometimes I'll look at a magazine layout and that will inspire me of how I want to structure my spread. Inspiration really comes from anywhere, and it's one of those things you begin opening yourself to, and allowing that to come in. So I take my inspiration from anywhere and I just let it go. The problem is we'll get inspired by something, so you'll get this inspired idea or thing that comes in, and then as soon as it comes in, our reaction is to go, oh, I can't do that, or oh, I need this to do that, or the mind starts coming up with reasons why maybe it's not a good idea, or you can't, or you need this. It starts trying to plan. It starts trying to take over this cool inspirational idea that just came in, and your mind just wants to take it over. So again, having that inspiration is learning to move past that chattering mind and keep staying with that flow of the inspiration that's coming in and following it. Chase that. Don't chase what your mind is saying. Chase that beautiful inspiration that comes in and let it bloom. And so that's what I do. And I find a lot of inspiration just in nature, anywhere. It can strike you anywhere. And once you start opening yourself up to it, you'll notice too that it's just everywhere and can come from the tiniest little thing. But like I said, it's staying open to it and then going after it, following the thread to see where it leads you and not letting your mind jump in and put a kibosh on everything. It does that all the time. Okay, let's see here. Do you reread your journals from the past often? I have to say I don't. Occasionally I'll look back through them, but not really. I don't know. It's never been something I've really been into rereading. I don't know why. I just don't. What's your favorite thing about journaling? That's easy. Being in the flow. Feeling that creativity and flow. That's my favorite thing about it, is that I am so super present, and that chattery mind that I just talked about is still, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to feel inspired and creative and feel that just flowing through you. I love it. Let's see here. Do you have a writing, journaling routine? Well, yeah, I have the routine that I usually do it in the evenings, pretty much. Let's see here. How do you deal with writer's block or journaling block? I definitely get that. So sometimes in the morning when I'm doing my magic morning, it comes to the journaling part. It's not that I get writer's block, it's that I don't know how to express what it is that's going on, because sometimes it's just too big and too much and I don't know how to put it on paper. And so the way that I get over that is I just write. And sometimes I just write the most simple thing. Sometimes I will write things like just one sentence, even if it's just one sentence that says today was a good day. It's just that practice of continuing to write. But yeah, I definitely get it where I can't find the words to express what's happening. Or sometimes I just don't want to use my words. The experience was just so beautiful that it needed no words. But I do like to write about it, so again, I have this book of my journey. And so I'll just write in mundane way. It doesn't have to be special. It's for you, so just be authentic to you. What inspired you to start crafting? Not just making art, but specifically making journal covers and accessory. So again, I'm an adayers person, so constantly, because I've worked with it for so long, I have always been that way, that I just love to create. The essence of me is a person who loves to create. I am most fulfilled through creating. And so before I did this, I've always been a sewer. I've always made natural body products. I've always made stuff. Every time I see something, I'm like, oh, I want to try to make that. So making things for me is amazing. And so when I started making journal covers and stuff, it was because I wanted to make one that I wanted, pretty much. That's pretty much why I made my journal covers, because there was one that I specifically wanted and it wasn't out there. So that's why where I started that, and wanted to share it with everybody, and it's worked out really well, and I appreciate every one of you who has supported that project. And then the accessories, I feel like creating stuff is just my way of letting me out into the universe, sharing these little bits of me with you and creating this beautiful web and connection. So that's how I feel about that. Where did you get your ideas? What is your inspiration? Okay, I kind of just talked about that, my inspiration and ideas. What is your favorite food in your Christmas roast dinner? Okay, so my favorite food is, my favorite thing is usually Christmas morning. We always have French toast casserole. That's my favorite. It's really good. With Vermont maple syrup. I love it. Do you have a favorite moon phase, and are you affected by them? Full moons make me sleepy, and the new moon keeps me wide awake and energized. So I definitely have a favorite moon, and I love the new moon, actually. I love all the phases of the moon, but there's something about that respite of the new moon and that just slice of new beginning that I love. So, and am I affected by them? Yes, and I think that we actually all are affected by them. And so when talking about the phases of the moon, I often find that people think it's specifically for witches or magic, or there's this mysticism around it. And to me, it's the most natural thing in the world. Everything on this planet runs in a rhythm or a cycle. So, even us, So the sun has a cycle of seasons. The moon has its cycle. All of life has its cycle. All animals have its cycle. And somehow we think we don't. We think that and these cycles affect everything on the planet. But somehow we think it's magical that they would affect us too. And to me, it's the most natural thing in the world. Of course these cycles affect us. They affect all of life. I mean, look at how the time of year. I mean, trees don't suddenly burst their leaves in the middle of winter. They don't start growing leaves in the middle of winter. No, because they all move with these beautiful rhythms and cycles of the earth. And we as humans, we don't think that affects us. And to me, it most naturally certainly does affect us. It's the most natural thing in the world that these cycles would affect us. So one of the things that I love to do is to figure out how to get in rhythm with these beautiful cycles. Because I find that what we do as human beings is we fight these cycles. It's like moving upstream when the river is going downstream. And you're fighting this force, and we're striving and we're striving and we're trying and we're trying, instead of working with the flow and allowing it to happen. So for me, working with the moon phases is a way of working within the natural rhythms and cycles of the earth, of the universe, I should say, is working within those natural rhythms and cycles. And the moon is one of them. And so the new moon for me, the new moon is when it's dark and there's just the tiniest sliver beginning to appear. And so for me, that's the beginning. So in the beginning, all things begin in the dark. And I find that so fascinating that all of creation begins in the darkness. But darkness is empty, but it's also completely full. Everything emerges from that darkness. Like I always say, every seed in the ground must begin in that dark soil. Every baby begins in the darkness of the womb. And so from there we come forth. And so the new moon for me, I just love that thought of beginning. And then of course when you get to the full, it's that fulfillment. It's that time when all has come together. So yeah, I love the moon and I love working with its rhythms. So, but it's not, I mean, it is magical because it's freaking cool, but it's not like some kind of mystical thing that isn't for everybody. It's a very natural thing and affects our planet in so many ways. Just like the cycles of the sun, I also really like working with the cycles of the sun. I mean, and every animal on this planet usually gives birth by the season, eats by the their whole life cycle is done by these rhythms of the sun and the moon. And why I think we as people are so drawn to the moon, as opposed to the sun, is that as women, our birth cycle actually runs with the moon. So where most mammals, their birthing cycle and how they mate and give birth is all done by the season. And for women, it's actually done by the moon. So that makes us really unique. And I think that's why we may not know why subconsciously, or we may not know why consciously, why we're so drawn to the moon. But subconsciously, we still feel that connection. So I think that's why. I hope that all made sense. What was your darkest place you were in this year, and what was the gift light that brought you through it? So this year, the hardest thing that I'm still dealing with for me was definitely my hand surgery, and because it wasn't just a hand surgery, there was a large transition for me there. One, I was taking this leap from being a full-time stylist and having this small business, and this hand surgery pretty much made me take the leap to go full-time with my creative career. But also it stopped me from being able to do the things that I love every day. But what I learned from that was that I was still seeking joy in things outside of myself. So it taught me to reconnect back to my spirit and not seek joy in experiences. So while the experiences of like journaling and doing yoga and stuff are lovely, they're still just experiences. They're not the essence of me. So it was a good reminder to connect back to that. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more. Do you have a favorite color scheme to work with? Yes. My favorite color scheme to work with is nudes. I love a nude palette with mauves and blushes and beiges and like an earthy green tone. Like that's definitely, if you look at my Instagram, that's definitely my favorite color palette. I will work with other ones because I like variety. I find it fun, but essentially those are like my favorite colors for sure. What's your favorite go-to pen for general writing in your journals? A Micron 01. It's my favorite because a lot of times I will write in pencil and then I want to erase immediately after and it doesn't smudge. So I love that it doesn't smudge and that I don't have to wait a few minutes for it to dry. I can literally write and erase my pencil marks and no smudges whatsoever. What do you do when you get into a funk, either with journaling or your spirituality? So what I like to do when I get into a funk is change it up. So whether that just choosing something that scares me, going to a different place, like getting out of my office, working at a coffee shop, going into nature, just doing something that I know I should do, but I don't want to do. So it like creates a rift in my pattern when I do stuff like that. Let's see here. What inspires you when it's cold and dark winter? So what inspires me is journaling. That's how I began journaling, was because in the midst of like the darkness, I was like totally depressed. And I would come home from work every day and I would think, is it time for bed yet? And that journaling kept me totally going, kept me totally here and present and with my family, and it gave me this beautiful creative outlet instead of being down and depressed. And also learning to work with the cycles, because so like I just talked about you with the cycles of the moon and stuff like that. So part of why, I've just thought of this recently actually, so part of why I think we get down in the winter a lot is because we are moving against that natural cycle. So the winter is typically a time of going within, stuff like that. But in our world, we don't stop. We don't stop for the seasons. We just keep going. Where like summer and stuff is like the height of activity. We try to keep this up all year long. And we don't move with these natural rhythms. And so I think when winter comes and we're again, we're forcing it, trying to create this energy. And unfortunately, we don't have the rhythm of nature moving with us at that time. So I would say, try, when it's dark of winter, try to figure out what that rhythm is during that time and move with it. And you will notice that it becomes an effortless flow instead of you striving to be what isn't on your own. Use the natural energy that's out there, that's given. Okay. If you could artistically collaborate with anyone who ever lived, who would you choose? Whoa, that's like a big question. Who would I choose? Oh my God. Seriously, I don't know. Like, that one's going to take some time to think about. Let me ruminate on that for a second. How did you come up with your magic morning? Okay, so my magic morning began, I had heard of like morning rituals years ago, probably 12 or 13 years ago. I had been listening to Tony Robbins and stuff, and he always talked about your hour of power. And then there have been so many other people too who have talked about it. And also I read this great book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, and he talked about the miracle morning, and I just started seeing that this was a way for me. So I wanted to do all these things. I wanted to read every day and meditate and do yoga and plan and visualize, and there was all these things I wanted to do, and I was like, how am I going to fit that into a day? Like, I'm never going to, it just seemed very overwhelming to achieve that. But when I broke it down into a fact that what if I dedicated this time to myself every morning, how would it affect my life? And so I did, and I've been doing it for about 3 years now, and it has never, I can tell you hands down, my life has never ever been better. That it has been literally the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me, and it is beyond words. How it has changed the exterior life that I lead. That began with changing my interior world. Okay, a couple more. Do you have a favorite book or movie or TV series? Okay, so let's see here. My favorite fiction book is Myths of Babylon, and also I really love Pillars of the Earth. I love fiction books that are really long sagas, and those are some good ones. My favorite non-fiction book is really hard because there have been hundreds, because like I said, I'm a book nerd. There are hundreds that have been pivotal in giving me wisdom and guidance and stuff. I would say right now, if you ask me pinpoint blank, just pick one, I would say The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Incredible, incredible book. Amazing book. What are your goals for the new year, 2020? So my goals, I have a lot of goals for this year. But one of my biggest ones is I'm an introvert and a hermit. I know that seems weird because I'm sitting here on camera with you, but truly I am. I'm very much, like to hibernate in my little room and peek my head out every once in a while, but I'm not a super, socializer, and, I'm kind of a inner being. So one of my biggest things, though, is that I want to connect with people more, in person, and I want to get out of my little space and expand myself some more. Not that I want to change being an introvert, because I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I definitely want to try to expand and create greater connection with all those around me. That's one of my big things. And then second for me is that I noticed earlier this year that I saw my body as a hindrance, that I basically realized that I thought my body was a pain in the ass, that it got in my way. So I tend to be a person who just wants to go and do what I want to do, and I will tell you that I don't like sleeping. I find sleeping a waste of my time. It drives me crazy that I have to do it. So what ends up happening is I don't listen to my body. I just keep going and doing this stuff, and so there's a disconnect there. and that causes, health issues. So one of my goals this year too is to, make amends with my body, and reconnect with her, and take care of her and listen to her and try to create better harmony and balance within myself. I'm going to do one more. Let's see here. Sorry, some of these are kind of the same, so I'm trying to find one that's a little bit different. How many times did you fail through your creative process before your business took off? Was it always smooth sailing? You make it seem so effortless. It's never... let me first say this, is that I have been an entrepreneur and pretty much self-employed my whole life. Even when I was a stylist, I was an independent stylist, and before that, I was a real estate agent. So I've always owned like my own business, and I've always been like, even in high school, like I said, I walked around with a shoebox and sold like hemp necklaces that I made and spell candles and all this stuff. So I've always been like a creative entrepreneur my whole life. So when I started this venture, I already knew a lot of stuff. And it's actually been really smooth, but it's been better than all the others because I feel like this venture has been the most authentic to me. And I also feel like it's smooth because I am at a place in my life where I'm not struggling, and I can allow that effortless flow, because I do believe that life is an effortless flow, and it's simply allowing that to happen. And I feel like I am in a place where I can allow it to happen. So to be honest with you, I've been super blessed, and it hasn't been bumpy at all. And also the other thing is I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to fail. I left home when I was 16 years old, and made it to this point where I am now with no money and no shoes when I began. So I know what it feels like to be homeless and have nothing. So I have no fear when it comes to like putting it all on the line for business, because what's the worst that can happen? Excuse me. And I think that's key, when you want to begin a business or start a business, is you can't let the voice of fear like overtake you, because it will just give you so many why nots. And you can't do that. And the other thing is you just always want to move from a place of love and authenticity. You just have to move from that centered place in you. And you can't go wrong, because the whole point of everything we do is to find joy. If you really think about it, every single thing you do in life is so you can feel okay inside. Everything you choose is so you can feel okay inside. And so why not just start by feeling okay inside? And moving from that place, and then what you see outside of you will be a manifestation of what you feel here. So I feel like I finally am in that place in my life where in here I've worked to create this like beautiful, balanced environment. Not always, don't get me wrong. I'm a hot mess too. But I've come very far, and in terms of like business and stuff, I feel like I've gotten to this place inside where I can be open and move from that place of love and really connect with others and try to give them something of value. So it's been smooth, super awesome. So that's it for the question and answer portion of this video. I hope that I gave you some insight somewhere, or maybe now you think I'm just a little bit more nuts. That's a possibility too. I really appreciate you taking part of your day and sharing it here with me. And up next, I'm going to tell you who the winner is, and also tell you where to get that free printable. Okay, so it's time to announce the winner of my giveaway, and it was chosen randomly. And so the winner is at Dartron, so it's Dartron. That is her on Instagram. So please send me an email or a message on Instagram so we can connect. And congratulations, and to all you other amazing people out there. So I put together this freebie for you guys, and all you have to do is go to my website, which is quinnboulay.com, and at the top there's a link to freebies, and you go there and the new one will be there, free for you to enjoy. I thank you so much from my heart for all the support and love you guys give me all the time. It's truly such a blessing to me. I never take for granted your love and support, never. Each one just fills my heart with so much joy, and I love connecting with each of you. And please drop me a comment and let me know what I can give you in 2020. I want to make things and do things that add value to your life and be a part of that. So drop me a comment below and let me know, whether it's videos or products or anything. Let me know how I can contribute to a better 2020 for you. Thank you so much again for joining me. Much love, my friends. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.